What's the name of this dham here?
Home.
Okay, we're in, we're in, we're in, I'm in my new home here. All facilities are here. I'm in Tota Gopinath Dham. So, so I think what I'll do today, I just finished giving a class. Um, yeah, I just finished giving a class on Brihad Bhagavatamrita to these Russian devotees, and it's great. This lady is such a powerful preacher. When she has these Bhagavad Gita seminars, and she has 4,000 people sign up, and it has so many teachers, and now I'm teaching them. So it's a great. I'm just thinking, despite everything, when COVID and everything went on Zoom, now anyone can sit in their place and preach Krishna consciousness. So that's good. So what I thought I would do today, I'm looking at the group. I would say at least maybe half will be at the program today. So I think I'll do Ramayana in two parts, and let's see how I do on that, because it's Lord Ramacandra's. The first thing I have to admit, it's an amazing thing, is that I never read the Ramayana. I never watched cartoons on the Ramayana. All I would know is that when it came on TV in Vrindavan, in India, the whole country closed down. The whole country closed down. They had to change the time of Parliament because no one would go to the Parliament. No one would miss this. I remember when they did the Krishna thing, the Mahabharata, the Krishna series, the same thing happened. And I remember I visited Varsana, and Ramesh Baba, that saint that Śrīla Dhanurdhara Swami lived with, he was down by Krishna-katha with all the village people, and they had one television, and they were watching the Mahabharata, and it was the scene where Krishna was about to be killed. In Chanur and Mustaka. And I remember it on the TV. What I remember is when the commercials are on, he had the television shut. They did kirtan. Because Indians seem to have liked the commercials as much as they liked the show, because it's like long commercials and one after another. And then he would turn it on. But I just remember that, and it was great. It was when Kamsa was, the arena and the wrestlers. And then I think Krishna's father got up and said, "This is not fair. Anyaya." Nyaya, logical, reasonable, logical, fair, anyaya. And then another person stood up and said, "Anyaya." And then Kamsa was looking around and he was getting real worried. Then another person, "Anyaya." And it looked like there was going to be a revolt. "Anyaya, anyaya," because a little kid. And then Kamsa stood up. He said, "This guy, I forgot what he said. He lifted up a hill with his pinky. He killed this demon, he did this, he did this." He said, "Anyaya." He said, "Nyaya," logical. So I'm kind of eager to do Ram-katha, and I've been absorbed. I've been reading it all day long for the last week. And boy, is it powerful. It's powerful. Oh my God. It's powerful. I was in India at a particular time. The people led by the Hindu Parishad from all over the country, they were marching on Ayodhya. They were marching on Ayodhya from so many places, led by the Queen of Rajasthan and things like that. And they were marching from all over. And then when they arrived, they're very, very organized because they're a paramilitary group. I knew a lot about them. They now run the country. With a blink of an eye, they had like 3,000 people with chisels, and they took down the mosque. And now somehow there's like a beautiful, incredible temple and what they did there. So and there were riots all over India. And where was I? I was on this 48-hour train with like 15 or 20 children. And when I got on the train, I saw there was no one else on the train. And I had to get back to Vrindavan. And the stop that we had to stop at, where the bus was to pick us up to take Vrindavan, was Aligarh. And in Aligarh, it was the Muslim university. It was like the center of, and there was 24-hour curfew. And I'm stuck there, and this train station. I found on the train station the district magistrate, which was really funny. She was a young lady, really modern young lady, and she had all these policemen following her with these huge pot bellies. She had so much power, and she said, "Okay, dude," and she arranged with police to come for us and to take what's called a 1-meter gauge train to Hatras, which is closer to Braj, and then have us picked up by a dump truck, and drive us with the policeman back to Vrindavan. But when I was on that train, the policemen had their guns, and it's a real small train. And then I never forget, this blind guy comes on. I've told this story before. Maybe many of you probably haven't heard it. This blind guy comes on, and he has like a thimble in one hand, and there's like a steel, like a oil can, and he had a stick. And then he started to sing and keep beat. Raghupati Raja Varaja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram. And he kept on doing that. And then I looked around the train, and I saw the policemen with guns going like this too. And everybody was chanting. So it's such an influential book. And you also understand how much this type of literature with heroes that exemplify Dharma, that heroes who exemplify Dharma, how essential it is. When you see the power of people who, as this morning I was telling about it too, that when I spoke at Krishna's wedding in Vrindavan, and he comes from a very good family, so his father's friend was there, who is the number 2 man in the government of New York. Michael Bloomberg's like finance top man, and he's there with, in this wedding organized by Indradumna Swami and Bibi Govinda Swami, and 200 babushkas. It's like a really mix of people. So I had to give the lecture, and I wanted to touch them. And I knew this one author, and Kalachandi, will get me right, correct me if I got it wrong, but Tom Wolfe, the New York Magazine, probably the greatest contemporary American satirist. And his writing was amazing. And he wrote this article called The Me Generation. And the Me Generation was a satire on my generation, with all the new age and, completely everything's self-centered, everything's about you. It's like a whole new culture. It's all about you, the Me Generation. I'm going to read that article again. If you ever want to, it's amazing. And he said something in that article that stuck me. And I shared it with them about their marriage and things. And people, they'll never understand duty above self. You have to understand duty above self. Otherwise, you have animal society. And it's got to be interjected into society because we're born here overcome with the dualities of desire and hate. So without sacrifice, nayam lokas tyagyasya kutanya, there's no happiness in this life or the next. There's no, so the first principle of religion is a bit materialistic. We'll give you things if you sacrifice, but that dharma has to be there and has to be inculcated, has to be inspired. And when you see Ram's, duty and everybody else's duty and how they follow, it's inspiring. And what an effect it has on society. And how much, it's hard to say, America's the melting pot, but how nice it would be to have a unified culture. I think Mahatma Gandhi was asked, what do you think about American culture? He said, it would be nice if they had one. But some kind of something, besides perhaps the National Football League, something that exalts duty. So you can see people, the people that grew up in India at that time, they were in a different breed. And when I came to India, I would meet those people. And I always told the story about the principal of the Gurukul before me, Dr. Om Karnath Sharma, who was an impersonalist. But he was so impressed with the devotees and their sacrifice. But he himself, extraordinary man. I never met a man like him in the sense that he had an MA in Sanskrit, a PhD in Hindi. He was a master artist. He had like an art studio. He was a yogi, a very accomplished yogi practicing asanas. He was a millionaire businessman, and he had a master's in filmmaking from the University of Southern California in 1950. And he would describe when he would come in and all the students were sitting in these amphitheaters, boys and girls with their hands around, he would stand up and fold his hands as the teacher came. But, and the story was with him, and I knew it well, is that he was the oldest brother of a joint family. And his youngest brother was contemporary with his son, his only son. And there was conflict, and he had to side with his youngest brother sometime for peace in the family. And his son was sensitive and left home. And after a year didn't come back, his wife died of heartbreak. And then he vowed, until my son comes home, he vowed not to eat this, not to eat that, not to eat this, not to eat that. And when I knew him, the only thing he ate was yogurt and boiled sabji and milk and fruit. It's the lines, Raghunath Das Goswami, the lines on a stone, truthfulness. Because if you can say something and then have to follow it, how strong you can be in your spiritual life and the vows people. So these books, I'm going to read the Mahabharata next, another book which I never read. And in my retired life, it seems I have time. So, duty above self. So what I thought I'd do today, and I would do it in the class, that I'll give in Gopakishores and Jai Shri Radhe, is I just picked out things that inspired me, and I'll comment them, and we can go through the story. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita. I was on my edge of my seat, and these wars and wars are great for literature because it keeps people's focus, and then you can give philosophy. That's the Bhagavad Gita. When I would go to the beach in Brooklyn, there's two beaches, Coney Island, Manhattan Beach is also in Brooklyn. And the most exciting thing is when the whole beach was running to one side and someone was saying, fight, fight, fight. And the whole beach was, so it was kind of, um, and I had some weird thoughts. I said, even the biggest demons are better than what we have now. Because Ravana never raped Sita, despite his lust. There was some tinkling of principles. Even Bibhishan, his brother, giving advice, other people giving advice to his dharma. And Sita, her chastity, her, these qualities. I don't know how we apply all these principles now, but whatever principles were there, people would follow. And we're so contaminated by rationalization. I gave that definition: intelligence in the service of the false ego. Oh, well, yeah, we don't do that. Not now, and it's not relevant. And okay, I did that, but if I did this, it wasn't really my fault. And that intelligence is just serving our false ego, so we never have to surrender. We never have to follow any duties. We can flip off any dharma in a second. I have to say this. One time, one of my godbrothers visited me, and he lived outside. He's a bit of a character, and he visited me in Vrindavan, and it was Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day, and it was a fast day. So I had to go into the Govinda's restaurant, not to eat, but to give someone, and he's sitting there, and he looked up guilty, and he gave his excuse. I was hungry. I was hungry. I'm as guilty as anybody else. It wears you down over the age. Okay, you live outside. These things are not relevant. Anyway, there's practical application of principles, but we don't suffer from niyama agraha. We don't suffer from niyama agraha, too much affection for the rules. We suffer from niyama agraha, too little affection for the rules. So it's good to hear these things. But I'm going to take out things, but I'm going to take out first something I saw at the end. And then we have when love and Kush, poor Sita, we can discuss that. Sometimes I'm wondering, is this like the Niyama Agraha world, the too much affection for the rules? Come on, give that gal a break. Hasn't she suffered enough? I can explain that, but it's not easy, but I can explain that. And then after 14 years, she's allowed back to prove her chastity, right? And she comes back with her sons, and she tells her sons, just tell, Ram, that, if he asks about you, that you're the students of Vashishta, or Valmiki, or whoever it was. But anyway, Valmiki, at this time, he writes the Ramayana, and, it's a glorification of Ram, and evidently love and Kush, they must have been special. Look at their parents, right? Although he came from a broken home. I wonder if they had to go for counseling. Where's my father? Well, he threw me out. But they began to sing so beautifully, the Ramayana of Valmiki. And then this sentence struck me, because it's another aspect of this story. says it is replete with the 9 sentiments of love, pathos, mirth, heroism, terror, wrath, disgust, wonder, and serenity. These are rasa. This is what drama is. It takes experiences. Of course, we have bhakti rasa, but generally human experiences that are consuming. These are the consuming human experiences. And by Natika Shastra, by the expertise of composition, you can create it in a way that other people feel the same thing. And this is one of the basis of our Krishna consciousness philosophy of Rasa Shastra. We're supposed to be affected by these. I can have to say, this Ram story, it's filled with this. And it says the boy's expert singing creates a vivid picture of the story they're telling, and we feel as if we are seeing it actually happen. So I thought there's 2 things here in this Ramayana that was really affecting me. One was the rasa of I guess it's of Dasya Ras, the sentiment of I'm a servant of Ram, like Hanuman. I don't want liberation. If in that type of perfection, I'm not separate from God and I can't serve God. So there's 2 things here: rasa and philosophy. And the philosophy is generally based on dharma, just like Bhishma, right? When he vowed for celibacy, a big kshatriya, and Bhishma, great vow, it's so inspiring. So I'm going to analyze it. So these are just some of the things that struck me, and I'll read them, the sentences in the order that I picked them up. Ram felt no anger towards Kaikeya, and he did not want her to be blamed for what was, after all, a divine arrangement. I was saying, I'd kill that bitch. It was like, I was so angry with her, right? What she did and how she demanded it. Pardon my French, but I was so angry with her, right? What she did, and just that. So this is actually Vibhava Alambam Bashaya in poetics. You have to have a hero, and you have to know the qualities of that hero. So if it's servitude, these are the qualities. He felt no anger and did not want to blame. This is Dharma personified, where you see everything as Krishna. This is anti-victim consciousness. It's very high. It's very difficult. But it's the key to forgiveness. Great souls have to understand. Well, not so. We have to understand that which comes to us, is for us. And it's very difficult. There are very trying circumstances, and sometimes it's really difficult to understand. I mean, I've written many articles on this in my Monday morning greetings of how to understand that there's evil in the world if there's an omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent God, because it seems one of the 3, either he had no power to do something about it, he didn't know about it, or he didn't care. But anyway, this is basic philosophy, and someone who has that quality, at least on a certain platform. I mean, I personally feel, sometimes there's radical forgiveness. Personally feel, there has to be a period of resentment sometimes, at least sometimes. But it shouldn't, the resentment means resent here to again feel So there's a port where it becomes morbid, where you again feel. People who hang on again feel resentment, ressentir, to again feel. But the sooner you give it up, the more religious you are. Dharma the bull, he's being beaten, and they point to him. Who has done this? Who has done this? Right? And he won't identify, the bull won't identify the perpetrator. And Maharaj Prickett said, you are Dharma. You're Dharma. Because you see God in everything. This is a deep, deep point. And then he turns to Lakshman. So, of course, for others, we can be upset. That may be our duty. Out of love. Happens to us, it's one thing, but happens to someone we love. There's a little more leeway for that. Lakshman should not center either their father or Kakeyi, as they were moved by spirit. Even his father banned, he has to ask his son to leave, his noble son. Niranjan Swami, I was just with him, and he gave me 3 pages from the Ramayana of Ram's qualities. He never paid back harshness with harshness. Wow. Never paid back harshness with harshness. Unfailing serenity of mind, free from envy. Even during intervals of his practice of weapons, he never failed to interact with saintly persons and with people advanced in age, virtue, and wisdom. Someone with wisdom, someone with virtue, someone with age. I remember Pradyumna Prabhu instructed me, because my mother was over 90, that has to be respected. Shastra has to be respected. Even age has to be respected. So, Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita. I'm especially fired up today because I have a way of beating jet lag. And the way I beat jet lag is I get back early in the morning and I take some nap, and then I'm tired by the evening. But I get up midnight exactly. Exactly midnight. The clock goes off midnight. So I'm mad with ecstasy because I've been going at it since that early morning. Wise and soft-spoken, he was the first to speak to others words pleasing to hear. Though mighty, he was never proud of his overwhelming strength. So this is Vibhav. This is the basis of rasa. You have to have a hero, and you have to have those who love that hero. And the description of them is Vibhav Alambam Vishaya. Vibhav means the basic cause of Alambam Vibhav, the basic cause of ecstatic love is Ashraya and Vishaya, the object of the love and the person who loves them. And descriptions of this stimulate our love. Mother Yasoda, Krishna as a baby. So Krishna's Vibhav Alambam Vishaya, the object of love, stimulates our love. And Mother Yasoda, the lover. So these descriptions are there. And you can see, I can see why also it was so emotional when they built the Ram-mandir. The whole city is spectacular. Because it was almost, again, like Ram, after 14 years, coming back to Ayodhya. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. And the policemen with their guns. Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Lakshman should not center either their father or Kakeya, as they were moved by superior forces. Ram then asked that the sacred waters gathered for his installation be instead used to anoint him at the inauguration of his vow of asceticism. He looked at his younger brother with affection. Beloved Lakshman, I will soon depart, for this is surely my destiny. That's so hard to focus. There's a destiny. Things are moving the world around us. Not people, but God. And then, of course, I have that joke, which I tell all the time. I tell it again when it's relevant. The old Jewish guy goes to heaven. He's at the pearly gates. I don't know what the entrance is. Says, okay, we looked you up. You got the visa. You can come in. I'm not coming until I see who's in charge. He's busy. No. Kept on insisting. So God came up out and said, he said, I have a question. God said, yes. Are we the chosen people? Yes. Would you mind choosing someone else sometime? He put his finger to God. Do you mind choosing someone else sometime? But destiny, can we see destiny? Dukkhalayama Shashvatam, it's so miserable, it's so temporary. Sickness, relationship, wars, politics, economics. I guess we're not the controller. We're certainly not the controller. So long as the king lives, you should render him service, for this is the eternal moral code. Now the next one we have to apply in modern life. It's a different world. For a married woman, the husband is her deity and her Lord. So there was some culture in that society based on children. And the way the marriages were arranged, the man was older, it couldn't be pratiloma, the woman from a superior caste, the man from a low, so the man was worthy. They made sure he was worthy, he was trained that way, he was dharmic, he was protective, he was maintainer, he was considerate, he had all those qualities. There was a whole system. But it was stressed in these books. It was stressed in these books. Intact families. And the king was Narahari. He represented God. He was trained karmically. The king, Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Brajayate. Yoga Brashta Brajayate. Fallen yogi, he gets born in an aristocratic family, Suchinam or Brahmin family. So there was some kind of, it's not the absolute criteria, but you couldn't discount birth. What was the karma of someone born to someone who was king and had, the righteous queen and the righteous king, and they were born to that? What was the soul that deserved that and was going to get the training to pursue that? And they represented God because they didn't act whimsically. They acted according to Shastra, to God's, they were carrying God's law. Wow. Power. Be specially careful, Lakshman, not to praise me before Bharat, for men endowed with power and wealth cannot tolerate hearing others praised. Indeed, Bharat will be the king and should therefore be served by you with all attention, carefully avoiding any offense. Of course, we know that's the son of Kaikeya. So she had Bharat and Shatrughna, and then Ram, Kaushalya, and then Lakshman's some other lady, I forgot the name's Mitra, something like that. So generally the oldest son, they have systems for decision making. Oldest brother was so qualified. If the father wasn't there, he became the authority. Husband and wife, there was decision-making systems set by qualified people. So society moved quickly, not by committee. Things don't work by committee. There's authority and qualified people. Decisions were made in family. Decisions were made in government. So somehow Ram had to leave. It's duty to his father. Because somehow his father promised, and his father had to uphold his promise to this queen, Kaikeya, who was younger and beautiful. He was attached to her, but he made her promise. He never expected to be used in this way. And she was influenced. Someone got in her mind and reordered it. You can do that to people. You feed them slight lies that they think are truths, and then they have this vision of the world, and you do another one, and then you create a reality for those people. And then they're acting in that reality, and then they may act on truth based on a false reality. Yeah. So somehow or other, she was influenced. And then the king had to keep his word. This whole thing about truth, it was so instilled in people that they'd rather die than tell a lie. They'd rather die than not tell the truth. When I think of a person like that, I think of Jayadvaita Swami. There's that's it. He'll die for the truth. And that's a real Brahmin, because you have to be detached. Because the truth is not always popular. And if you're attached, then people in power can take away that which you're attached to, or threaten to take it away if you shut up. So there's very, very few people that can really, are at that level that can speak the truth. You have to be completely detached. This is good stuff for me, because if you notice, I have a little bit of a Kshatriya bhav too. Krishna's kind of funny, because he just gives me the seat all day to sit in, and I have to chant and hear and read and try to keep my mind engaged, where I have this Kshatriya body. I was a sportsman and active. So, but you can see so he says, be careful not to praise me before Bharat, for men endowed with power and wealth cannot tolerate hearing others praised. Indeed, Bharat will be the king, and you should therefore be served by you with all attention, carefully avoiding offense. This is such an important point. Envy is why we came to the world. And envy is we want a certain superiority. And to do that, we have to control, to be the enjoyer, that sense of superiority as I enjoy more, the central experience and the ego experience. I got my yacht and my trophy this and that, and I'm greater, and I'm never wrong. So we're conditioned like that in the world. And when you have that power, you become even more conditioned. And therefore, you don't want other people to come up. So we don't like others to be praised. It's so ingrained that when Lord Chaitanya brought Rupa Goswami to the assembly, he started glorifying Bhakta Rupa. He was a new Bhakta. And he looked at Sri Damodar, he looked at Sarvabhaumacharya to see how they would react. He knew, of course, they were pure devotees, they didn't. Nimatsaranam satam. A devotee is nirmatsara. He doesn't have hate. He's not trying to get ahead in a material way. And therefore he's attracted to the Bhagavatam, which is going to give you devotion, not control. So he warns him, don't get envious. Be careful not to praise me before Bharat, superior. You'll praise that I'm superior. Be careful about that. Because people can't tolerate that. There's so much pettiness that goes on in the world. You see it, there's just so much ego, and it's funny how it comes. If someone criticizes you or you try to become better, the power of humility is the ability to resist the false ego, which is the material consciousness of controlling, enjoying, to resist that. So that's so powerful. Now, also, there is sattvika bhavs for that rasa to come to height. There must be powerful involuntary emotions. Seeing Ram leaving and his city plunged into despair, the king fell prostrate. Upon being brought back to consciousness, he got up and along with Kaushalya ran after the chariot. Ram looked behind him and saw them trying to make their way through the crowd. He was unable to bear the sight of his father and mother in such distress out of love. Their distress is increasing their Ram Bhakti. But being bound by duty, he urged Sumantra ever forward. The chariot was perplexed. Hearing from behind, the king call out, "Come back!" And then being ordered by Ram to drive quicker, Ram said that the pain should not be prolonged further. Make haste. If my father reprimands you when you return, you should simply say you could not hear him. Lie to him. That's okay. That Ram saying lie somehow. Yeah. As the reality of Ram's departure sank in, Sumantra drove the chariot back towards Ayodhya. After 2 days traveling, he arrived to find the city subdued and silent, overpowered by grief. Sumantra entered by the southern gate. As the empty chariot moved along the road, hundreds and thousands of people approached it crying, "Oh Ram, have you really gone? Where is the faultless hero? Alas, we are forsaken and lost." So anyway, there's this rasa, there's those incredible warriors, and the war goes on, and you can't imagine them being killed, and then they're killed, and Jai Hanuman, we see everybody loves Hanuman, go burn that whole damn city down. Right? A little protest there. Burn that city down. Ravana is so powerful, and all these people with boons, and Ram gets knocked out, looks like he's dying, and Hanuman gets the herb and he brings the mountain. think I was speaking to Narendra. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. So, okay, 1 second here. Okay, okay, great. So, Jamuna, what point struck you?
All right, this is such a happy day for me. I'll get to see you. I love the Ramayana. It was back in the day at Yoga Maya where you met me. We were given that text to read during that wonderful module. So I have long loved this book, and so it's such a joyous day that I'll get to hear from you twice. And I've always thought that your name, Danyadara, he who holds the bow. Sometimes people say that also is first the Lord Ram.
Right, right.
So I've always loved that. But you, there's so many things I could say about the Ramayana because I love it so much. But what you said about Kaikeyi, that B word, is absolutely right. And the scene when he goes, but then there's a painting I've seen when he comes back to Ayodhya. And it shows his mother standing up on the throne, and it shows Kaikeyi lurking in the shadows. She doesn't want to be seen, but Lord Ram goes to her and offers her forgiveness. Is just so amazing that he goes in the first place, but then when he comes back, he forgives her. And he always talks about being moved by destiny, by providence. And it's just so, you say so beautifully, if you do what is right, what is best will happen. And Lord Ram always chooses what is right. So I was just relishing the whole thing. I love it. I love the Rana so much.
Yeah, there's a hard one there with that kicking Sita out at the end.
That one. That one. You know what Sachiraz told me once?
What?
He told me I was trying to explain that to somebody. And he said to me, he says, you can't really explain it in material world. He said, but here's what you can tell somebody. In her next life, she comes back as Radharani, and she has it all over him that time. That's what Sachiraz said.
Yeah, this thing where I think even Dasarath, he was hunting, you
Yeah.
know, and he killed someone accidentally, and then he was cursed, and it's. But anyway, we may not figure out everything, but the story, it's our children should be hearing this and inculcating it. Everyone should be inculcating these. Just this sense of Dharma is just so glorious, you know? Yeah.
Thank
Definitely
you,
Ram,
Raj.
Ram wasn't affected by niyama agraha, too little affection for the rules. He had them all down. And the Dharma, the king and okay, Haribo,
Maharaj,
nice to see you.
I see. Can you expand on something for
Yeah,
me? You read
sure.
towards the end, you read the two words voluntary emotions
It,
related to
it,
emotions in the
it,
spiritual world. Can you elaborate on that?
it's involuntary emotions.
Oh, I misheard.
There's two types. There's one is anubhav. No, what? There's different types of emotions for rasa. One is called sattvika bhav. Actually, sattvika bhav are not emotions; they're bodily reactions based on emotions. So sattvika bhavs, there's astika sattvika bhavs. There's eight sattvika bhavs: hair standing on end, crying, trembling, body trembling, skin burning, hair, these type of things are called.
Right.
In other words, the emotions are so powerful that you don't think about the anubhav means let me dance, let me sing. There's some intellect with it, but it's service. I'll pay my obeisances. It's so that's anubhav. And vyabhichari bhav are just transitory emotions. That's different. Distress, yeah, those are emotions. Distress, jubilation, fear, all these things come in relationship. But when the relationship to God, they increase the love. If Mother Yasoda is fearful something will happen to Krishna, it's actually an ecstatic feeling because her bhakti increases. it's both at once. And I give the example, like you watch a drama and it's a tragedy, but you enjoy it. So it's you're feeling something ill, but actually it's ecstatic. So it's like that. Yeah. I wrote you a message that
I already responded.
okay, we'll touch
You'll
base.
read later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to offer reflection on this, something they appreciated?
Well, the first thing, Maharaj, is I don't know if everybody knows that Jamuna Jaya is a Hanuman Bhakta.
Really?
Yes. Self-proclaimed.
Wow.
Actually.
You're
Yes.
revealing all this confidential stuff. Confidential stuff is difficult to understand. It's generally not said publicly.
And then comes you. Then she's your disciple, but first comes Hanuman.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why she loves this story so much. But
You're also kind of, don't you love the deities of Sita or something?
Yeah, Sita is my my person. She's the embodiment of affection and compassion to me.
Wow.
But yeah, just a one-liner that I appreciated from you today was when you said, humility is the power to resist the false ego. That was,
Yeah.
I really like that one. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Where's your Parivajrakacharya daughter now?
she's in New Vrindavan. Actually, she's supposed to be heading up this. There's this your godbrother Kripamoy Prabhu. He's trying to get a theater culture down there in New Vrindavan, and so he's having her head that up. For various age groups.
Yeah,
Like that.
She's a dynamo. There's no doubt about it.
She loves what she does. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Good. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna, Gamaraj, Slal Govinda.
And Braja, thank you for class.
Thanks for class.
Okay, we'll see you today, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
See you soon.
Be great to all get together, right?
Yeah, can't wait.
Look forward to it.
We've missed you.
I miss everybody. Yeah, I'm in Tota Gopinath now.
Yeah, I know. How's the chili?
Oh my God. I had it right off the plane. I didn't even bathe. Yeah, there's a chili Prasad here is great. But I got all facility here, everything. It's
yeah.
Really, yeah, it's great.
I know, it's
Right.
great.
I'm sitting in my office now.
Yeah. Do you like the new chair?
The chair and the kind of table by the chair.
Oh, wow.
And then, I don't know, you can see, then I have my deities there.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then if I'm tired, I go to my bedroom.
You got a whole wing there. That's great.
Yeah, the painstaking life of sannyas. Can't take it anymore. Okay, great. Anybody else like to say hello?
Cool.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Yvette. Thanks for class. I'll see you soon.
Oh, great. Okay, we'll see you. Wonderful.
Yeah.
We should touch base, chat a little bit. That's good.
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Haribo. Good. I see you today too, right? Or
I will see you today, yes.
Okay. A lot going on the East Coast here.
A lot.
When it happens, it rains, it pours. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna Amrita. Thank you so much for this class and happy holiday to you and to everyone.
Thank you. I've got my tickets. I'm going to get my tickets within a week. I'll be there from, I think, July 14th to August 2nd. Yeah.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah.
In Moscow. In Moscow.
Moscow for 2 weeks and St. Petersburg.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll see you
Great.
there. Okay, Haribo. Anybody else? Okay, I'll just look the list and say to all the great people that came to class. Okay. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha Patitanam